right, we are recording.
Same number you have?
Probably,
Do you want to do it?
yeah.
Okay, roll call. Charles Merlo? Yep. Marty Walker? Yep. Sylvia Alexander?
Yep.
Bob Bender? Yep. Carol Blake, EC?
Yeah.
She's excused. There she's here. Okay, Lee Chung, Nicholas Fazio, David Gelman, Omar Murray, Daniel Rowan. Here. Jessica Sosa, Laura Spolta.
Here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't have a quorum, but we can start and not vote.
By the way, I think if somebody said Lee was on, if she is on, she was excused by the chair.
It doesn't count toward a quorum.
I understand.
Lee,
are you
there?
Can we get a report from DEP? Are they here?
Effie I saw.
Yeah, Effie's
Yep.
on.
I'm here, Amy.
All right.
Good evening.
So can you tell us all we need to know about Tibbetts Brook daylighting?
That's the plan.
You're on.
Oh, we're already up? Okay, great. All right, well, just give me 1 second here to share my screen.
Amy, I'm going to give you share screen and access. Give me
Okay.
1 second.
Got it. Thank you.
Ms. Gelman, we have a majority, we have a quorum.
All right, looks like I have access.
Come on in, David. We needed you for the quorum.
Pressure.
All right, can folks see my screen okay? All
Yes.
right, fantastic. Well,
Before you get started, can you answer for the record one basic question?
yes.
What means daylighting in your vocabulary?
Daylighting. So daylighting is a technical term. It's an engineering term, and it broadly describes activities for restoring or resurfacing a stream that once was. In this case, Tibbetts Brook, which had a surface expression that ran through much of the Kingsbridge neighborhood historically. For the purposes of this project, the daylighting, the surface expression, will not follow the historic flow path, but it will be sort of symbolically imprinted into the available land along the CSX corridor, beginning in Van Cortlandt Park South and extending south to the Metro North Rail Yard. Actually, on that site, and that's the site we're talking about tonight, it will enter a closed conduit.
You're on.
And I'm on. All right, great. Thank you so much. Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks for having us tonight. I'm Amy Motsney from New York City DEP. I'm project manager for the Tibbetts Brook Daylighting Project. I'm joined here with some of my colleagues from DEP, specifically from our environmental review team. I have Dana Taplin on the line, who's going to present some of the slides this evening. We also just want to note that this is a partnership. This is a project between DEP and the Parks Department. So we've been working over the last several years on the planning and design for this overall project with the intended benefit of improving water quality to the Harlem River. So the primary driver, especially from DEP's perspective, is the combined sewer overflow reduction, and that is part of the citywide open waters long-term control plan. The partnership with Parks will enable the Greenway extension as part of this overall project. So the two agencies are working together to integrate these features as part of an overall design that will have robust community benefits and water quality improvements. And tonight, I am going to give a brief overview of the project, but I think tonight was really focused on the ULURP action, which is for land use acquisition for an easement on the Metro North Rail Yard. This is the terminus of the project. This is a portion of the project that is in a closed conduit. So we're really hoping to go through the ULURP process on this piece in particular. So Dana's going to kind of go through the nuts and bolts of that piece as well. But without further ado, this is just the agenda. I kind of ran through the broad strokes here. We'll give some project background, talk about the land use action and the schedule, and then open it up to you all for discussion and any questions that you might have. Just want to start with DEP's mission statement. DEP's critical mission is to enrich the environment and public health of all New Yorkers by providing high quality drinking water, managing wastewater and stormwater, reducing air, noise, and hazardous materials pollution. The overall Tibbetts Brook Daylighting Project supports the larger project through the conveyance of base flow from the Mill Pond at Van Cortlandt Park, plus additional wet weather runoff directly to the Harlem River, which is going to increase the available capacity of the combined sewer collection system and reduce frequency and volume of combined sewer overflow for overall water quality benefit to the Harlem River. The primary goals of the Tibbetts Brook Daylighting Project are to restore the hydraulic connection between Tibbetts Brook and the Harlem River, to divert this freshwater flow from the combined sewer system to the new stream corridor, to extend the current Putnam Trail in Van Cortlandt Park to West 230th Street, connecting this trail to the existing bicycle network. The goal is to create an inviting experience for the public along the daylit stream as part of the Greenway extension, and to expand and enhance the wetland habitat within Van Cortlandt Park and the CSX corridor. I think this is a useful map for just kind of describing the dimensions of the project. You can see the sort of linear expression of the overall project beginning here at the south end of Hester and Pierrot's Mill Pond. The first phase taking shape within Van Cortlandt Park itself. The second phase, which we call the CSX right-of-way or the CSX corridor. This is on land that the city will be acquiring to facilitate the project. And then the third section that we'll be focusing in on tonight is this segment through the Metro North Rail Yard south of West 230th Street. And this is where the project will enter a closed conduit. Relevant to this discussion, just wanted to note that a prior ULURP was completed in 2011 to establish parkland within the CSX right-of-way. And this is the dimensions between West 230th Street and the Bronx-Westchester County line. Just getting into some of the specific design elements pertaining to the project, wanting to note some of the various activities that are happening. So within Van Cortlandt Park, we will be modifying an existing weir structure and constructing a new side weir that will ultimately facilitate flow into an open channel that starts in Van Cortlandt Park. The daylighting will take shape within this extension of the park through the CSX corridor, approximately to West 232nd Street, where it enters a pipe intake structure and moves into a closed conduit for the duration of the project, which connects to the existing outfall on the Harlem River. The overall project is anticipated to reduce combined sewer overflow volume by about 215 to 220 million gallons per year. And it's going to, again, enable this extension of the Putnam Greenway. Throughout this process of design and planning, we have had extensive community board engagement. Many of you are very familiar with this project, either directly through work that we've done with Community Board 8, or also as part of the Tibbetts Advisory Group or the TAG, which is open to the public. All are welcome to attend. So shoot me a message afterwards if you're not on our mailing list for that. Just noting some of the ways in which community feedback has been incorporated into the design of this project. we've heard a lot about the importance of connectivity and circulation. So as part of this project, that is a primary goal to enhance connectivity to the greenway and create circulation patterns within the park, but also access points that are embedded in the community in appropriate ways, and creating these connections and providing access to the greenway itself, but also access to the water where feasible. We are also hoping to implement a temporary public art program as part of this project, anticipating locations for future installations, but also incorporating interpretive signage about the history of the stream and the ecology and the social history of this area. We are enhancing ecology within the park, but also extending that ecological footprint into this very dense and challenging CSX corridor environment. And then hydrology, obviously a very critical piece of this project, the Daylit stream itself, embodying that. So now I'm going to pass it over to Dana Taplin, who's on the line, and he's going to go through the land use acquisition for this ULURP process. Dana, are you there?
Right here. Right here.
I saw him. Saw him logged on. Apologies, folks. Oh, there you are.
He has to unmute himself.
Is it Kaplan?
Yeah.
I've asked to unmute him. Dana, you're muted.
Dana, Dana, you're muted.
If you're
There we
talking
go.
about me, it's a different Kaplan. Sorry.
What about K3? Who's that?
It's
Now?
now we can hear you, Dana.
There.
Okay.
Oh, Kaplan.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the headphones stopped working at the critical moment.
Well, we
Okay,
can hear
sorry.
you loud and clear, Dana.
Okay, good. All right, I'm just talking at the laptop. But I'm Dana Taplin. I work with the environmental review team at DEP. I was trying to say that we recently just this year completed the environmental review on the overall project, which includes some work in Hester and Perros Mill Pond, and of course all the work in the park and the work along the CSX stretch of the. But now we're going to talk about the MTA part. This, of course, is it's all the old Putnam division of the New York Central that ran all the way up to Brewster, New York, and these different segments of the
In our thing.
to our daylighting of the brook. And as Amy said, the part where we have to acquire an easement is the still active railway segment that Metro North uses as a rail yard, and as a result, there's not the plan is not to have any public access to it, and there's the daylighting part is stops at approximately 232nd Street, where it goes into a pipe, a closed conduit or enclosed conduit. So within the entire Metro North stretch, it would be pretty much below grade, not visible. We'd have to excavate and then cover it up. And of course, there's a lot of negotiation with the railroad to work out the details. But as it says here, it's a 2.5 by 6 foot wide concrete box conduit. And this little inset diagram shows you how the conduit turns at the southern end to a 90 on at a 90-degree angle to enter.
Could somebody quiet themselves, whoever's talking, besides Dana?
Oh, someone else talking? Okay. Okay, I just wanted to say that I was in the course of saying that the pipeline, the conduit, will make a 90-degree turn and then enter into the existing infrastructure, sewage infrastructure. That is it's a combined sewer, and then it goes into an outfall that exists into the Harlem River. And the engineering is such that the flow through our daylighted stream will enter the outfall without being diverted in sewage collection system. And there will be some, well, it says on a different slide, but there will be some engineering design in this interaction between the two, such that in wet weather allow the flow to go into the river, but it will prevent any sewage backup into our conduit. There will not, important to note that there won't be any disruption to the active Metro North rail service on the Hudson line. Of course, as you see, it has to go underneath the Hudson line to get out to the river, but that pipe, that infrastructure already exists. So there's no work underneath the Hudson line. The only work is through the rail yard. Okay, so I guess that's the next, we need the next slide. Right, so the closed conduit ties into an outfall pipe upstream of the outfall, and then it flows into the outfall. The conduit will convey the stream base flow and the limited wet weather flow from the pond and the surrounding parkland, which is to say that this isn't exactly stormwater. It is the flow in Tibbetts Brook, which originates to the north in Yonkers at Tibbetts Brook Park, and flows down through Van Cortlandt Park through a series of filled in ponds, and then it enters the former what was known as Van Cortlandt Lake and has been renamed Hester and Perrow's Mill Pond. And from there, in the last 100 years, the flow has gone into the Broadway sewer. So what DEP is trying to do is to take some of that flow, a good proportion of it, out of the sewer and put it into this daylighted open channel that'll be a very pleasant amenity and continue on down through the park and into the former railway that CSX is selling to the city, and then enter into this closed conduit below 232nd Street. The conduit ties into the outfall pipe downstream of the regulator. The regulator is the thing that allows it's an engineering term in the sewage system that allows if the rainfall is too much, then it allows the flow to bypass the sewage collection system and go right into the river, and that's what we're trying to reduce. You don't want combined sewage and stormwater entering the river. So this will, to the extent that we can get pond flow out of the sewage collection system, we're improving the water quality. And the closed connection will be engineered. Yeah, I mentioned that already. The closed connection will be engineered to prevent the combined flows from backing up into the conduit. All right. So the easement acquisition is basically for a linear path through Metro North's property, which consists of 5 tax lots. One of them is in Community District 8, that's block 3264, lot 20, and the others are in Community District 7 for other tax. Zoning is what it is. Zoning isn't really material, I think, to this. A stormwater or a pond flow diversion project wouldn't really depend on what the zoning is, but that is what the zoning is anyway. And then the construction is anticipated to begin late in 2025. Next slide. Right, so then this is an aerial that shows you the area in question, which is the part of the old Putnam line that is still in rail operations. It's the part that MTA owns and operates a rail yard. They're going to get a slightly better rail yard out of the deal. We will have to do some excavation to lay our conduit through there, and so that's all being worked out with MTA. But the part of it that is within Community District 8 is Lot 20 there, the part to the right, and then the rest of it is in District 7. And it shows you again how the pipeline is sort of this orange, kind of an orangey mustard color, takes a sharp right turn and enters into the existing system upstream of the regulator and downstream of the, let's say upstream. Well, anyway, enough to say that it avoids the regulator, avoids the sewage collection system, and it'll take the pond flow right into the river. And most of the time, the pond flow is going to be just dry weather flow that's always flowing. Right now, as I say, it's always flowing in sewer. So a lot of it will, once this project is done, be flowing directly through this channel into the river. Yep, that's about it. And then the next slide. So we did present the first item on this in this chart is notes of presentation to the I think it was the Parks Recreation Committee of the Community Board 7 back in May, and then the second item is we completed our environmental assessment statement in January. DEP was the lead agency since it's mainly a DEP project, and we issued a negative declaration last month. The City Planning Commission certified the ULURP application for the easement February 20th, and so now we're in the Community Board review phase, and it says TBD for number 7, but I believe their executive committee is going to take it up next month, and I believe we have a date on the 18th of April for a similar presentation to them. And then the process continues, and we anticipate completing the ULURP in July.
Bob Panuzzi?
Yeah.
You're
Next.
on, Bob.
Bob, you're muted.
Bob, you're muted.
No.
Still muted.
Rob, you're muted.
Talking, no, I'm muting.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
There you go.
So this is absolutely
We
critical.
still can't hear you, Bob. Maybe
Turn up the volume now.
remove your earphones.
The community
Nothing
board.
yet?
Did you unplug it from your computer? We still can't hear you, Bob.
We can hear him, but
Karen, you can hear me, but the
I can hear
presenters
you.
can't hear me?
yes, we hear
Can't
him.
hear you, Bob.
Okay. And who's not hearing me?
Now we can hear you. You're good.
It's really critical that we understand exactly what we're voting on. Dana, thank you very much. I'm a former chair of the Environment and Sanitation Committee, and we've been working with Tibbetts for quite a while, but also a board member of Bronx Council Environmental Quality. And we've been promoting daylighting for decades and advocated for its inclusion in the LTCP. So we understand the ecological function very well, and I hope Community Board 8 takes great pride in this historic step to clean the Hudson River, because as DEP has said, this is diverting water that would have gone into a sewer with contaminants into the river. Now it is going straight from a freshwater into another freshwater body and relieving the pollution burden on the Harlem River and making it swimmable. So we are playing that crucial role. However, we are equally invested in the continuation of the the Putnam Greenway. And I would just like to make clear about whether this easement includes and incorporates an open space or recreation agreement between DEP and MTA, or whether it is only for the purpose of obtaining the right of way for the burial of this conduit. If you could just make that clear to the board, because we're used to seeing the two projects joined, and that is how TAG has presented them up to 231st Street. Now, from 230th to 225th, it could be a completely different story. So for the purpose of assessing our future work and advocacy and any future ULURP that may be needed to actually create DPR parkland, would you clarify that question of whether this ULURP also includes permission of the city to acquire for the purpose of any recreational greenway, extension of the greenway? Thank you.
All right, I can take that question. The current proposal is only for the closed conduit through Metro North's property. That is what it is.
Okay.
Which doesn't foreclose any future possibilities, but the current proposal is to lay this conduit through Metro North's property, and the ULURP is to give the city permission to complete those negotiations, that deal with Metro North.
Understood. So DEP is the interlocutor with MTA, the sole interlocutor at this point for the purpose of this ULURP.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
That's right. Yeah.
Chuck, really important. Just wanted to clarify that this is not a greenway resolution. This is a daylighting resolution. At this point, they are separate, and the agency
Could
is
always
separate.
defer action on this until they do the other piece.
Oh, I would not do that. I would not do that at all.
All right.
No.
I saw Sharon Mintz had her hand up.
Committee members?
Well, actually, it's a public hearing, so.
Oh, my mistake. Excuse me. Thank you, Laura.
Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard? There you go. Who's that?
Karen.
Karen.
Hi,
You're
everybody.
on.
Karen Argenti. I'm with the Bronx Council for Environmental Quality, and I sit on the E&S committee for a couple of decades, I guess, and on and off. And I was chairperson of Community Board 7 for many, many years. This is a great project, and I'm very excited that we're here. And I think the DEP has done a wonderful job at being very creative and engineering-like. And I would urge that the committee vote in favor of doing this expeditiously so that we could just move on and get this thing off the table. As you know, we have all worked very hard to do this, and it's a great project showing collaboration from public participation, because we kind of convinced the DEP that they could do this when they said no. But they always say no. They always say no to me first, and then they say, well, let me look at it, which I agree. You just can't tell. You need to do a complete review. But I think this is really an excellent project, and it will clean the water. And thank you, Dana, for explaining what a regulator is. I kept looking at it on a map, and I never knew what it did. I knew that I knew the action happened. I didn't know the thing that the regulator did that. So that was very interesting presentation. Thank you very much. And I hope you all vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Who's that for the Harlem River Working?
Chauncey Young.
I'm sorry.
Chauncey Young.
Chauncey, you're on.
Good evening, all. I just want to say, that I think that this is important, not just for CB8, not just for the Bronx, for all of New York City. This is the largest daylighting project in the city, in the state, and perhaps in the country at this point. And the importance of the daylighting is not just for, cutting down pollution to the Harlem River, something we've been trying to do for decades, but also the importance is also reconnecting neighborhoods. So while it is not a part of this as part of the Harlem River Working Group, I think it is important that we continue to advocate for those last 5 blocks. I think we need to approve this, but I think we need every community board, every community member to continue advocating, because Metro North would prefer to manage trash in this part of the property instead of allowing Bronx residents access to the waterfront. So just wanted to highlight that. And if wanted to remind folks, if people can come out to our Harlem River Greenway Visioning with the DOT on Wednesday. I think it was sent out on all the CB8 mailing list. Thank you so much.
Daniel Rennell.
Hi, thanks for considering this and opening up some comments. My name is Daniel Rennell, he, him. I'm the Director of Programs and Operations at the Bronx River Alliance, where we do host paddling on the Bronx River and have to routinely shut it down because of combined sewage overflow. So we're very familiar with the issues that this project would really make a huge difference in the amount of pollution in our waterways. So definitely very supportive of this and grateful that DEP and everyone else who's put decades of effort into this has done all this work. Thank you.
Anyone else? Now, what action do we need to take tonight?
Can we participate?
Sure.
Okay, Bob has had his hand up for quite a while.
Bob?
Thank you. Let me just say, first of all, that both the ENS committee and the Parks Committee have been working on this issue for years, many years. And this is a major step forward in getting the clean water that comes down from Tibbetts Brook into the mill pond and keeping it out of the combined sewage overflow, which creates all sorts of problems when we have heavy rain and sewage goes untreated and so on. So it has enormous importance, particularly for the DEP, but also for the Parks Department, and most of all, for the residents in Community Board 8 and Community Board 7, because it opens up a further greenway and gets us a lot closer to the Harlem River. But I have one specific question, I believe for Dana. I want to be sure I understand with complete clarity what MTA's position is at this point. In other words, if we vote in favor, if the Community Board votes in favor and Community Board 7 votes in favor, and it goes through all the agencies that have to sign off on it, city planning, the city council, the mayor, is MTA agreeable to allowing the permanent easement so that once this is approved by everybody, that's a done deal? Dana, can you clarify that?
It is for a permanent easement. Yeah, it is.
Sorry, say that again?
It is for this is not just a construction easement. It's a permanent easement for a closed conduit. As I said in answer to another question, the present proposal is not to build any kind of public access through the Metro North property, but it would be a City of New York easement across MTA property that allows us to put this pipeline through. That is the current status, and as you know, the MTA isn't really a party to the ULURP process. It's a state agency, so whether they, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I think any subsequent action to try to deal with MTA to open up public access could be a separate, maybe a separate ULURP, or maybe the existing ULURP could be reviewed and amended if MTA were agreeable. But that would be a separate negotiation and not an easy one to get the railroad to agree to something like that.
Good. Well, thank you. That's what I thought. So this gets the water south of 230th Street, but public access is a separate issue that has to be discussed later on.
That's right.
Thank you.
Anyone else? David?
Yes. Amy, could you get back to slide number 7, please? I have two questions.
This
Okay,
one?
in the lower right, yes, please.
Mhm.
The lower right picture seems to show the greenway being moved from the west side to the east side. Or is this just a convenient artistic rendering, but there's been no change in the plan? Because all the earlier drawings showed it on the west side of the conduit.
It has to be. CSX represents
Of course.
the side.
Well, it's all CSX. And so the greenway could go on either side, but I think it would be horrible to put it on the east side.
Right. This view is looking north. And this is the I think this is the orientation. Nothing has changed with the project planning. So this is something you've seen before,
Well,
I think.
I hate to disagree. The design that we've seen so far had the greenway not at the Deegan, but on the other side of the waterway, close to the west. And that would be a big change.
To the west.
This is at 236th Street.
Yeah.
And it's looking north. I mean, you
Yes.
can't see BJ's. So this is,
Yeah.
this
Shouldn't
was
the path
always,
be
this
closer
was
to
always
the
that,
street?
that
That's
that
what I'm
was
getting
always
at.
there.
That's what I'm getting at.
Exactly.
I think the
The designs we had seen had the greenway, the pathway where that person is walking,
Right.
to the left of the trees, not next to the Deegan. But again, that could just be a convenient drawing you did for today, and that would be okay, as long as you're not telling us that you've redesigned it to put the pathway next to the major Deegan Expressway.
No, the stream between the Deegan is the stream and then the pathway. So there's space between the pathway and the Deegan. That's the daylit channel running through here.
Amy, isn't it
The
the
daylit
case that
channel-
the design calls for the path to pass right next to the dead end of 236th Street, so that if there were if Parks were able to get an agreement or an easement or something to allow access from 236th, that people would be able to go right onto it. Anyway, it
Amy,
looks
do you
like
have
this
do you have a
rendering is a little
schematic?
bit.
So you're
Is
just
there a
saying this is
schematic
one
you can
small
show?
segment, but realistically, it's primarily on the west side of it all.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have some
Okay.
supplemental.
That's all right.
May not have any good images in this presentation since we're focusing in on the land use acquisition for this presentation, but I can clarify. I'll follow up with the board chair and get you kind of clarity on that rendering.
Very good, thank you. And please go back to number 11.
Okay.
Okay, so we're looking at those various blocks, and it appears the pinkish line that goes actually into the Harlem River goes parallel to these lots, goes behind Marble Hill houses, and then connects onto Broadway, correct?
That's the existing
It's
sewer.
called the existing sewer infrastructure?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
That's right.
isn't that the pipe that we've been sending the water to for the
Yes.
last 40 years?
The last 110.
And aren't we going to be creating a combined sewer overflow just a mile south of where it's been going on for the last 40 or 50 years?
We're combined with that.
Well, no, it's going to combine down there. It's going to combine where it turns hard right into the Harlem. That is where they're going to combine.
Well, no, it's gonna just let out into the river without combining. They show the little diagram, engineering.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, but it's still the same.
There,
It's the same
engineering.
pipe. It's still the same pipe we've been talking about coming down Broadway.
It's a new pipe. The old pipe will only.
Could we get
combine
somebody
to
from
overflow
DEP to answer this
when-
question?
Yeah, that would be better.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you explain the existing sewer pipe, sewer infrastructure, how it relates to the current CSO and how they will join up down at the southern tip. It seems to me that they've been joining up at, near the weir, near 240th Street, and that now it will combine at the bottom, the same two flows of water, at the west, what is that, WI 096 conduit. So it just seems like the same two pipes, just combining at two different locations.
Well, there's the white line is the existing pipe, right?
Yes.
Right. So the existing pipe, the water flow, that is pond flow, and in wet weather, storm water and to some extent sewage. So it all goes down through this to this point on our diagram, that junction point where our new line makes the right turn. But when in lower, pretty dry weather or very light rain, all of that goes through the regulator into the, it bypasses the outfall and it goes directly to the Wards Island sewage treatment plant, or the wastewater resource recovery facility, as it's called now. So in heavy weather, some of that flow goes into the outfall because the regulator says enough. The sewage treatment plant doesn't have the capacity to handle this much flow, so it just gets dumped into the river. So what our project will do is to bring all this clean pond flow into the outfall all the time, because the outfall now only gets used when there's heavy weather and it's releasing combined flows. So now the new pipe will bring Tibbetts Brook flow right into that outfall. So there's a steady flow all the time. Dry weather, it always flows, and it's going to use that outfall. It's going to avoid the sewage collection system. And in wet weather, there will be additional flow through our channel, but it's going to be regulated. So there won't be so much that it doesn't have the capacity to handle.
Later.
So in both wet and dry weather, it will reduce the demand on the sewage treatment plant and greatly reduce combined sewer overflows at that one outfall into the Harlem River. I don't know if we have some engineering consultants backing us up here tonight, so I don't know if my explanation is clear enough, but I think it's more or less accurate.
I'd like to, just so everyone knows, what is the CSO reduction as a result of this?
215 to 220 million gallons a year.
Thanks, Amy.
Aaron.
Okay, sorry. So I think.
Aaron Argenti.
Yes, can you hear me now? Yes.
Yeah.
I think the question is the white pipe gets combined at probably around 240th Street and all the way down. The yellow pipe is not going to be combined. It's just going to be overlaid. It's not going to be combined with the white pipe. And so it's going to be a straight discharge of clean water. That's all right.
Anybody else on the committee? Laura.
I would like to note, for the record, that Bronx Community Board 8 passed resolutions, I did my history, on April 2016, April 2017, February 2018, June 2022, June 2023, in strong support of the Putnam South Greenway and daylighting of Tibbetts Brook, citing their unique recreational, economic, and environmental benefits. So the board has a very long history of approving daylighting of Tibbetts Brook. And I move the question.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve. We have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Can we put in language saying we want them to continue exploring the continuation of the Greenway below 230th Street?
We have an amendment to the resolution.
Yeah, can we just clarify that's public access in the Greenway?
Thank you. Better language. Thank
All
you.
right, you want to put that language together so we can have it for the minutes?
Okay.
Everybody else understands it, I hope. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the resolution as amended? Contrary minded? Abstentions? Done. Thank you. Next case. The next item on the agenda is the LPC application at 4401 Manhattan College Parkway. We had asked that the owner of the property, who appears to be the person who has allegedly made the changes without permit, be present to explain what's going on here. We were advised by his architect or consultant that he cannot make tonight, but will be here in April. We have asked the Landmarks Preservation Commission not to act on the matter until we have had an opportunity to have that conversation and take appropriate action in April. I believe they indicated they would withhold action. And on that basis, this matter is laid over to the April meeting. Next is the...
Chuck, I'm sorry, Chuck? Yeah, we can't see each other. I'm here, you're there. I see you now. If I recall correctly, when this issue came up at the previous meeting, there was a question of whether FPOC was aware of the situation and what they thought.
I personally spoke to the new chair of FPOA. They weren't even sure that the property is within their ambit. I told them that we understood it was, everybody else did, and they ought to consider acting. I hope they will do so. Sarah or Artie, if you will remind them of that, we'll go forward with this in April, hopefully with their views, but otherwise without them.
Okay,
No
thank you.
problem. Yep.
The next item I'm going to jump over for just a moment to get a report by the subcommittee working with STAG on the construction of 3745.
We have not met since our last meeting. We're meeting in April. Joe passed it today. Looks like they're very much nearing completion. The issues between the two buildings have been resolved, basically. They're cleaning up any items. There was some water seepage into the garage of the current building, but that has been addressed. So all looks well, and I cross my fingers to go to our next meeting in the building, and it should be open shortly, I hope.
Any questions, comments, concerns? All right. Let me then do something which I otherwise am likely to forget. May I have a motion to approve the minutes absent somebody advancing a correction?
I have a comment on the minutes. Just give me 1 second. Minutes, page 4. Sorry. I had page 4, page 1 here. Okay, it reads, Falter stated that the DCP hearing for Green Fast Track for Housing Rule Change is coming up for a public hearing this week. It would exempt higher density zones from environmental review. Please amend that to, it would exempt some projects in both high and low density zones from environmental review. All right, both. Okay, that's it.
And I have a motion to approve as corrected.
Small but important.
Any other corrections? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Done. Now, is there somebody here on behalf of 3139 Netherland Avenue and 3132 Arlington Avenue?
There are
Yes,
residents
I
of the
see a hand
community
raised.
that are here. We are not the
We
developer.
have
Any
received
residents
a
of the-
raft of complaints concerning excessive noise. Would you tell us how long this is going to continue on and why?
I'm sorry, is there a representative of the developer? Most of us who are on here are representing the community. We
Well, I
live
thought that
locally.
was the developer, I'm sorry. Is there a representative of the developer at 3139 Netherland Avenue and 3132 Arlington Avenue?
Give a chance, maybe
Last
some of
call.
these phone,
Is there a representative?
I would give some of those phone numbers a chance to speak. Maybe it's one of them. The representative did say they would try to be here.
The representative is not present. I'm going to ask for a resolution to request the Department of Buildings to issue a stop work order.
That would be
Now,
great.
Is there a representative of the developer who has now materialized? Last call.
Alex Kaplan, top left.
I'm not a
Alex
representative,
Kaplan,
but
are you here for the developer?
I am not. I have a comment though, before any resolution is
Hang
set.
on a moment. Is there a representative of the developer? May I have a second to the chair's resolution?
So moved.
I have a second. Now, Mr. Kaplan, you may say what you want.
Thank you. You know, obviously we want the noise to stop, and part of that might be finishing the project. So, you know, a stop order, I don't, you know, may or may not be helpful in the long term. I'm not sure, but ultimately, we're wondering why there is not more of an attempt to reduce noise. So there are plenty of
They're not
methods.
even coming to the meeting. Why should they attempt to stop noise?
That's a good point. But if we're going to do a resolution, I would suggest that we push them to make a better effort whenever work is continued to reduce noise through fairly standard methods such as sound mitigation barriers. I mean, there are common barriers that are put up for this purpose in much less dense urban areas, and they've made no attempt to do so.
All right. I'm going to take two more, and then we're going to go with the resolution. Sir.
Nicholas Martinez.
Mr. Martinez. Mr. Martinez, you must unmute yourself.
I have unmuted
Oh.
myself. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
All good. Well, good evening. Thank you everyone for being on tonight. We always appreciate the work of the community board. In brief, you know, to follow up Alex's point, we would love to see, you know, some type of mitigation to the noise that's happening across the street. But taking it one step further, I do welcome the opportunity to have a stop work order issued on the site until a noise mitigation plan is placed in service. So with that said, I thank you and hope that there's a resolution tonight that would do just that.
May I ask?
Andre, you're on. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Andre.
Yeah, just to add on to what Mr. Kaplan and Mr. Martinez said, besides mitigating the noise, I think one of the biggest issues has been with the timing of the noise. And as far as I know, you're not supposed to start until 7, which is ridiculous on its face. But besides that, they've started before 7 on multiple occasions, and that's drilling. And then as far as like backing up the trucks and having the beep, 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 I've heard that as early as 6:20.
Do the remaining two of you feel you still need to unburden yourself?
Yes, I do. I do.
Go ahead.
Are you recognizing me?
Yep.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much for hosting this event. And my name is Nancy Savin. I live at 3215 Netherland Avenue, directly opposite from the jackhammering that we've been enduring for maybe 8 or 9 months. I have several questions, but I can boil it down to one or two. When you receive a permit from the city of New York or from to build something, to undergo construction, are you obligated to file a noise mitigation plan? And if you are, was it done for this site? And if it was accepted, then the standards need to be revisited and improved because there was no mitigation as far as we're concerned.
So, I'm sorry to interrupt. If you want me to speak, I'm Effie Artizzoni from DEP.
This developer has so much respect for the community and so much respect for each and every one of you that though asked to attend on an issue that he or she or it knew was important to some people, failed to do so.
Chuck,
I'm sorry?
Effie from DEP was saying something.
Effie.
Hi, good evening. Sorry to interrupt you. The noise mitigation part was brought up. They do have a noise mitigation plan and it is posted up on their site. You can see it. DEP has performed several inspections. We were there on June 12th of last year, June 9th, October 30th, December 26th, January 2nd of this year, and January 4th. So we've done several inspections. There were no violations issued. You know, if I get any other new information, I will definitely make you aware of that, but they do have a noise mitigation plan that is posted.
It is
I suppose our complaint, thank you so much for that, but our complaint is that.
Visiting the site.
Mute Saban, please.
Effie.
Yeah.
Thank you. Effie, do you give notice prior to visiting the site?
No, these are 311 complaints that were made and we're responding to them. And also recently I've received complaints from the community board office and several of your electeds.
I think the point, if I may jump in, I'm the person who originally called.
Ask that both DEP and the Department of Buildings, A, inspect the site on a regular basis, and B, stop work until there are adequate assurances that there will be compliance henceforth. That is the chair's amendment. Do I have a second? Second.
May some of us jump in response to the comment?
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. Who's that?
Nina Habib.
You have to wait for
Come
the.
on.
Sorry, I know you have a lot of hands raised here.
I know this interest. You have good reason to have interest. I've driven past the site now twice and have heard the noise. And there's no way to deal with folks like this other than for them to see that government intervention is here. Ms. Habib, you're on.
Thank
Say
you.
what you must.
Thank you. I'm going to say it. The point is not that the developer is doing something that is outside of what the permit states. The point is that the permit does not accurately regulate the activity that is appropriate for this neighborhood. If DEP and DOB keep going by expecting to see violations, they won't. That is because the permit was issued without adequate measures for noise reduction in a residential community. These are 3 private homes that are not adding substantially to New York City's housing market, that are disrupting thousands of people because they are built on vacant lots that were vacant for a reason. It's a giant boulder of schist, and it is not really supposed to be built on. So I don't think that the solution is to simply have everybody from every department go out and just continue to make sure that they're like, adhering to the permit. The point is that somebody thoughtful needs to go out with some creative ideation about how we can actually mitigate this noise. There are techniques that we can put in place. There are construction experts, I'm sure, at the Department of Buildings who could weigh in to say, gee, if you use a different type of jackhammer, gee, if you build these kinds of walls around it, you can actually reduce the decibel level. I don't think that the way of dealing with it is simply by regular visits by DEP.
Habib, I thank you. You caught me short. You're right, I'm wrong. We need to amend that resolution to make it clear that we are also calling upon the Department of Buildings and DEP to re-examine the permit to determine whether it is appropriate in its terms and the mitigation plan is appropriate in its terms for this particular site. Okay, Effie? Effie, got it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, please. Ms. Habib, I thank you. Ms. Mintz. Ms. Mintz.
I'm sorry about that. There's also an issue of the dust that is being created by the drilling. I have had a very thin layer of brown dust on my windowsill, and I want to know, was this ever tested? I know myself personally, I have felt physically sick from this for months. I developed vertigo. I'm nauseous every day. I have a headache every day, and it's just out of control. I agree with everything everybody in my neighborhood said. They start at 6:30 in the morning, backing up their trucks, moving their equipment around, and it's just ridiculous already. So my question is really about the dust. I want to understand if the dust is being tested.
If the two of you and anyone else who will be willing to join you would sit together as promptly as humanly possible and put together a single list of the conditions that we would additionally ask DEP and DOB to pay attention to. Is that okay? Will you do that? Ms. Mintz and Ms. Haber, will you do that?
Oh, Ms.
Habib, I
Habib.
mean.
Sure.
Ms. Habib.
Yeah.
Miss
Okay.
Habib, I
The
don't
two
know
of
how to
you
get in touch with
Get
you.
together everybody who is interested in this and put together, as soon as you can, a single list, as pithy in language as possible, that we can then forward on to DOB and to DEP as the issues we would request them to address. All right? Laura?
Regarding the dust, I thought it was standard operating procedure to water down at the end of the day when you're doing construction.
They're supposed to.
And that would definitely keep down the dust.
Only after you watered it. If you do it at the end of the day, you're good for the nighttime, but you're dead in the daytime.
Yeah, but what I mean is
I
there's some
know.
kind of process that
There
they
is.
do.
They're supposed
And
to
it
do
works.
it continually.
Yeah.
All right. Who else is on?
Peter-
Is
Peter
there
Burke.
anybody else who needs to add to this?
Yeah,
Anything new?
this is Peter Burke here. I just, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm at 3200 Netherland Avenue across the street. I want to just reiterate the point about the dust. If anyone cares to take a look at the street sign at 3200 or 232nd and Arlington Avenue, the sign is outside that building site. It's barely legible, Arlington, on that sign. It clearly illustrates the dust and dirt that's emanating from this
I
site.
invite you to join your neighbors and colleagues in compiling that list. Ms. Clark?
Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy Clark?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I live directly across the street
from the construction site. I am right on the corner of 232nd and Arlington. So we've experienced firsthand everything from the beginning. And it's been almost a year now, and it's not so much of getting them to stop because we're so far into it. I would really appreciate the courtesy of maybe a timeline of when you're going to be working on this side of the street. When do you think you'll be done? You know, just as neighbors, right? Because from what I understand, the developers live close by. It would just be nice to have a better understanding of what's happening and when it's happening. You know, post-pandemic, a lot of us do work from home. So when my husband has to take calls, or we have to do meet with clients, my husband's an attorney. And so, you know, it'll be nice to just have an idea of when they plan on working on which side of the street. Also, they do have some, not cones, but they do have some stuff out there that blocks almost like a parking right in front of the construction site, I guess, to let the trucks in and out. But from what I read online, you know, if the city didn't put that up, we don't necessarily have to, it's not like a legitimate no parking zone if it's not put up by NYPD. But I feel like they're also taking advantage of that by blocking off, you know, parking in the neighborhood as well.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Add your comments to Ms. Habib and to Ms. Mentz's list. Last one, Holly Macon.
Hi, thank you. I live at 3125 Arlington Avenue, and I just want to, if everybody isn't aware, there's actually been another application filed for a building at 3133 Netherland Avenue. So they did let my neighbors know across the street from me, who will be abutting that new project, that that will be going ahead. They sent a letter to some of my neighbors on the 1st of November, 2023. So there's another project in the offing, and I'm just wondering if there's anything we could do as a community to get out in front of that one.
Thank you. Ms. Habib, I want to thank you personally for calling me up short. You were right. I was wrong. All those on the committee, all those in favor of the resolution as amended, re-amended, and re-amended, please signify by raising your hands.
Now, could you first tell us what the resolution now is?
Yeah. The resolution is to request DEP and buildings for a stop work order, pending a report from the developer. Number 2, to require that they take steps to amend the permit so it is, or to look at the amendment of the permit so it is more reflective of the appropriate conditions in the community. 3, to address the issue of dust as well as noise. And there was a 4th.
Inspect the site on a regular basis.
I'm sorry?
Inspect the site on a regular basis.
Inspect the site on a regular basis. All right. All
And-
those
and the
in favor of
timeline.
the resolution? Farrell, what's the matter?
I'm sorry, you can vote on your resolution. I just want to also recommend, like you said, with Nina and all the residents, to send our office the concerns. Because we also did ask the owner of the facility to give us some kind of guidance on their timeline and to, you know, address some of the concerns with the community. So I would like that to send.
Farrah, I can take care of that. I'm the person who sent out the notices, putting them in your buildings. So I'll put out a notice in everybody's local building as well with my email address on it, and we can just all be in touch that way.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Check your lobbies.
Okay, all those in favor? What? Is Carol Blake voting? Oh, she's a board member. Where is she?
Right there.
Carol, you're allowed to vote. All those in favor of the resolution?
I'm in favor.
Contrary minded? Abstentions? Done unanimously.
And Carol, did you vote on the, ULURP, the earlier, the Tibbetts?
I believe I did, yeah.
Oh, okay,
All right,
And
now,
you need to keep your camera on.
Could I ask you?
I do believe I've come to that magic moment where I can say, is there any other business? Yes,
Sylvia.
Marty.
I'm gonna ask Bob to make the report on the access to the Greenway.
Oh.
Yeah, you did set up a working
Yes,
group.
I did.
Yes, so, and the working group actually met. And it was Marty, Laura, and myself. And we met with a couple of folks from the Hebrew Home, River Spring. And to boil it down to its essence, they understood that there was a prior memorandum of understanding about public access through their property to the Greenway in the future, when there is a Greenway. And they were fine with that, and they reaffirmed the agreement.
They called me and added a request. They asked, and this is Rheingold called, they wanted to ask, I think it's Sharita's group, that was one of the key players in this, to get moving on their report that they had to put together. There was some, so that they could do the two at the same time.
I don't know what that is, and that was outside of our purview.
It
so,
was.
Yeah. But, so the only other thing worth noting from the meeting that we had was that, if and when the time comes for this public access to the Greenway, it would be on what they're now calling the South Campus, which is the former Passionist Fathers Retreat property. But otherwise, yes, they reaffirm the understanding, and when the happy day comes that we have a Hudson River Greenway, they're open to the idea of access. It may be pedestrian only. It will be subject to safety requirements, but we all understand that.
Could somebody from your group just touch base with Sharita? Because you may have some familiarity with what the heck they're talking about.
Well, just so I understand, what is it that Dan Rheingold is asking from us?
Sharita was supposed to move forward with some report on what she needed, so we can do it all at once.
Well, I'll tell her that and tell her she should be in touch with Dan Rheingold, exactly, yeah. Okay.
Is there any other business?
I just want to make a note, I don't know who's doing the resolution, is it David, Chuck, for the Tibbetts Brook, but, I request that the whereas that I read, and I'll send it to you, be included about the past history support.
Yeah, I gave it to Artie, but,
I'll get it on.
okay.
Okay. The whereas, the history, how many times?
Okay. Anything else? On the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you.
Say goodnight, Gracie.